Good morning, everybody. This is the third edition, third fucking sermon. Sorry, alright, so this is the third sermon from the Church of Xen. We're going to talk about a couple of things here. I was taking a visit in Babylon. And a brother came to me. He said, "Dear Lord, my men have failed me. We're trying to fight this war with the Greeks, but we just don't seem to have the courage in our ranks. We don't have the motivation, the self-startedness that we need to win this war. What can we do to help our chances of winning?" And, he came to me in these dire needs. The Romans were about to kill him. Babylon is like the second city. It's on that river. Babylon, just wants to take control of that river. And Rome, same. So they're kind of two sort of warring states, And Babylon is sort of the underdog, so they really need to focus here on trying to keep a well-maintained army. And I said, "Brother, have you looked in the sun recently?" Because they believe in the sun god. So I said, "Brother, have you looked into the sun recently? Have you gazed upon the sun?" And he said, "No, we haven't." So he took all his troops out to the fields, and they gazed at the sun. It was a bright morning day, and they all gazed at the sun. You know what they saw? They saw Ra, the sun god, in the light. They saw Ra, the sun god. And in that moment, they knew what to do. You know what it was to do? They took their archers and they fired at Ra, because Ra had a little halo, when you could see, everything sort of, when you stare at the sun, everything sort of just, like the light just overpowers everything, and everything starts to darken, but only the light of the sun seems to remain. And so it was sort of like a target. And so the archers fired at Ra, the sun god, at his target, specifically placed for them. And they launched those arrows. All the arrows launched. And unbeknownst to them, there was a camp on the other side of the hill, the mountain that they were on. And they took out pretty much their entire force with that one strike. Now, I'm not gonna say no more. Now, I have a brother deep in the South. I have a brother deep in the South. His name is Charles. Charles came to me one day. He said, "Brother, I would like to have a better life." I said, "Why would you like to have a better life, Charles?" He says, "Well, there's lots of pain and hardship around me, and I would just like for it to be a little better. I mean, it can always be better, and I just want it to be better." I asked him, "What is better? Please tell me what's better in your life. And he says, well, like to have more money. Just everything. Everything would be better. And I said, okay, what kind of person do you think you have to be to get better in your life? What kind of person do you have to be to receive those blessings? Because blessings do not come to you. You have to sort of initiate the blessing and then pursue it. You can't just, it's not just a man, it's just not working, bruh. You can't just I keep saying you can't just receive blessings without having something to offer. It's sort of a give and take relationship in life. And people wonder, great, how'd you get such an awesome life? Well, you gotta give more, bro. You gotta give more into your life. And so I looked at this brother. He says, I want everything to be perfect. I said, well, you have to be perfect then. If you want everything to be perfect, your ass gotta be perfect. That's just how it works. He says, well, how can I be perfect? God says that I am the perfect sacrifice, and no one else can be like me. You can try to be like God, try to be like Jesus, but you can never make it. And I said, well, maybe your goal for a perfect life is a flawed goal to try and get. Maybe that's that simple. Maybe you are trying to achieve a utopic life that is just a fantasy. That's the problem with fantasy, is that these things can exist. They certainly can exist, but the problem is they just don't. They just don't exist except in our fantasy. They cannot work in reality. There was a traveling circus one day that came by. They said, we need more men for this circus. And they had tryouts. This one man came up. He was missing an arm. He was trying to be a trapeze artist, which means, flips, going on bars, just doing a bunch of acrobatic things. And he's missing an arm. And, they'd look at him. They're like, boy, what are you doing here? You're missing an arm. You need both arms to do this role properly. He says, I'm a trapeze artist that does not do trapeze stuff. You know what happened? He went to do his act, right? And he went to do his act, and he brought out a portal gun. And you know what happened? This man did some flips and stuff. Actually, he did no flips, but what he did was he just shot his portal gun and kept in the air. Went back down. Went there. Kept incredible speed. You could not even see him at points. And that's the question. How does he stop? How does this man stop? Well, what they did was they installed a large crane, and they put another, like a flat piece of wall sort of thing that was laying horizontally. And what he did was he would, they have a hole in the ceiling, and he would shoot out of the hole, go straight up, reach that tippy top of the thing. So he would be slowing down in midair, the top of his arc, the top of the vertical arc, and he would make a portal at the top of there to enter and exit at the floor. So he'd basically be standing at the end of that. And he would do incredible performances. He would, come in and out of existence. It was just really crazy stuff. And yeah, the tricks that he were doing were just stuff that no one else has ever seen before. Like, yeah. No one had ever seen this sort of thing happen before. And I'm really not focusing on this. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not focusing on this at all. I need to just chill out. This works best if I focus on exactly what I'm supposed to be talking about, but I'm not focusing on anything right now except my computer. I'm really bad at multitasking because to speak, I have to actually get into the I have to get into what I'm talking about, actually focus on it, but I'm not really focusing on anything right now. What the fuck is this, dude? Art of the figure. I don't understand what the fuck this is. A new Libre recording. Alright. So he's making a piano song. The art of the figure. Alright. Alright, we're gonna try and power through this. We're gonna do one more little story and it's done. This is a fucking shitty one. Alright. I talked to this man. He was standing on the water. He was hovering on the water one day on this little lake, on a lake. I came up to this man. I had to be on a little canoe or a little rowboat. I rowboated up to this man. There's a little dock. I put my rowboat on there and I paddled out to this man. He was just sort of standing there. He was standing out there and he was standing out there just sort of gazing into the distance. I came up to him. I asked, "Sir, how do you have the power to float above water, stand on water?" You could see his feet were just touching the water. The waves were the ocean current was sort of going up and over his feet slowly. And he says, I'm just standing. I'm just simply standing. How about you try it? So I got out of my rowboat, tried to stand on some water, and I instantly sank. I just plunged deeply into the water. I got back up, swam up. The man was still there standing. And I was just wet. And I got back on my rowboat, just cold, wet. And I told the man it did not work. He said, "Well, I don't know. I don't know how I do it. I'm just standing here. It's that simple." I asked, can I stand where you are standing? He said, sure. So he got into my boat, and I stood where he was standing. And I was standing there. Apparently there was a clear plastic little stand right there where the man was standing. It sort of makes you wonder, what do we think we see that we don't see? What do we think is actually happening when it is not actually happening? We always try to have reasons and try to explain things in our mind, but our mind does not know all the details, all this stuff. For all we know, there could be other forces outside of even our perception that could be altering reality, for all we know. So to be so focused on thinking that we are always correct, even more so that we think that we even have the ability to be correct, is sort of a crazy idea. All right, that is it. We will see you tomorrow, and I will try to focus a little more on just the sermon and not other stuff, because I can't multitask. As you can tell today, multitasking is a complete bitch and does not work for me. I have to focus on what I'm talking about. So we'll see you tomorrow.